Hello, it's Friday, July 24th, 2020. My name is Brian O'Neill. I'm the founder and principal of Designing for Analytics, and I'm doing a quick design sketch here to go through the design sketch so far for the city of Los Angeles's COVID-19 neighborhood risk model that was recently developed by some data scientists, I believe at USC. The goal here is the risk model currently sits in GitHub, and the goal of this project in conjunction with US Digital Response is to figure out how do we push the insights that are in the model out to the public and also make them available in some type of mapping or dashboard interface or whatever it needs to be with the Department of Public Health. So this sketch was just very early. It's accompanying the design strategy brief that I produced with the chief data officer and her deputy, Jean Holm and Eva Pereira. This is not intended to be a final design. It's really just a visual accompaniment to the design brief to start to tease out what the actual user experience requirements may be for something like this. So I'm just going to run quickly through this Envision prototype here. I will put the link to this as well into the notes beneath the video as well. So what we're looking at here is just a rough pencil sketch of a light Google Map interface or whatever the map technology is with some dashboarding information about neighborhoods in Los Angeles and current and trending data around the risk level. I don't know for sure at this point if the model implements a very specific scoring regimen, whether it's like a 1 to 5 scale or a 3-point scale. For now, it doesn't really matter at this point for the purposes of this sketch. But what I'm envisioning here, just as an MVP to start getting conversation going, is that it does make sense to have a mapping interface here. But I think actually some of the these little list components up here showing trending is probably just as important for people who are going to be monitoring this on a regular basis, particularly Department of Public Health, contact tracers, et cetera. So at the top here, just going through these, you can actually click on these bullets and it will go into a little bit more detail about each section here. This would be a list of the worst neighborhoods currently, possibly showing how many new neighborhoods have come into this list since yesterday or since whatever period makes sense. Obviously, we will be getting feedback from epidemiologists and public health officials who will know the domain expertise here about how to present this information. Another one would be trending worse. So this could be any neighborhoods that have either moved down by 1 tick or possibly 2 ticks, or maybe it's by most negative change, something like that. Recent improvements is somewhat self-explanatory. This would be neighborhoods that have recently gone up in terms of their risk score, or their risk has effectively gone down. Beneath this, we would have the primary map interface. So this would be something for anyone to look up either a neighborhood or their address. We would want to resolve street addresses back to the neighborhood level and then probably plot in the form of a heat map or something like this what the current risk is in that area, and possibly maybe the surrounding neighborhoods around it. I think it makes sense to have some favorites here and probably to cookie the last used location here so people don't have to revisit their home neighborhood every time they come to this. Additionally, we want to put hospitals, testing sites, free mask centers. There's probably my understanding is that one of the goals of this map is to predict where surge may occur, and so that means deploying additional resources and possibly popping up testing centers, etc. So being able to see that on the map would probably be helpful. I go into a little bit more detail about some of that. It could get a little bit more complicated with having planned centers versus open centers versus closed ones, but the goal here is to visually accommodate additional layers of information that may be very relevant to COVID. I'm going to do this right column last. I'm going to jump down to the bottom for now. This register for alerts, pretty self-explanatory. probably makes sense to allow SMS or email or maybe some other methods, I don't know, for delivering alerts to citizens or any interested party. So basically type your email or your mobile phone number in, enter the neighborhoods that you're interested in watching. This can also be useful for people who don't live in Los Angeles, who have loved ones or significant others that do live in the city, and they just want to kind of keep tabs on what's happening in a particular area. And then you could just subscribe and get notified, when status has changed. Probably will focus primarily on negative changes. So when risk is going up in an area, we would particularly want to notify on that. This whole area in the design brief document, we talk a lot about alert fatigue and making sure that whatever type of notifications API or system is created, that is carefully designed to avoid any type of alert storms or sending out too much messaging such that people start to tune it out. So I don't think this is something where every day we need to be sending out information, but it may be one way to get that information out to people so they don't have to come back to this map every time. Obviously, more info. These are just some links to some stuff, including the GitHub repository for third-party developers who may want to incorporate this risk model into their application, or to researchers or other public health technology teams working in other cities that may want to develop a similar neighborhood level scoring mechanism. The last section here is just a listing here. It's kind of messy, but if you just imagine a list here of all the neighborhoods in Los Angeles, probably sorted by worst to best with a 7-day trend. So I just used a check mark for good, exclamation for bad, and a squiggle for kind of neutral. Again, I don't know if it's a 3-point or a 5-point risk scale. We haven't gotten into any of that level of implementation detail. But the goal here would be to show some type of trend. I don't know if it's supposed to be 7 days. We haven't gotten into that detail either. It makes sense here probably, though, to allow people to understand, how long has this neighborhood been like this? Is it changed recently or not, etc. So this would just be a long list of those, probably heat mapped or colored by intensity as well, with some type of trending information, possibly with some different types of sorting. Seems to make sense that the worst or high risk would be first. So that's what worst first means. And yeah, so that's the walkthrough of this initial sketch. Feel free to leave comments in the comments below here in YouTube, and feel free to watch the channel in case we decide to push some other things out. Okay, if you have questions, you can email me, Brian, Brian, @designingforanalytics.com. Thank you.